The coldest reality you'll ever face is this: women don't always leave the man who neglects them, mistreats them, or barely gives them attention. More often than not, they leave the man who loved them the most, the man who sacrificed, who gave endlessly, who thought his devotion would buy loyalty. And when she walks away, you're left staring at the ruins of a relationship you poured everything into, wondering how love could ever not be enough. But the truth is, love, at least the way most men give it, isn't the currency that women value most. When a man gives a woman all of his love without boundaries, he stops being a challenge, he stops being a mystery, he becomes predictable, accessible, and easy to read. And while women may say they want unconditional love, their behavior proves something different. They crave the emotional tension that keeps attraction alive. When you give her your heart on a silver platter, when you make her your world, she doesn't feel honored, she feels bored, and boredom is the silent killer of desire. The man who loves her the most often makes the fatal mistake of putting her on a pedestal. He places her above himself, above his goals, above his mission. He makes her the center of his existence, and at first, she might smile at the attention, but deep down, she starts to lose respect. Because no woman can admire a man who abandons himself for her. She might enjoy the devotion, but respect, that evaporates the second she realizes you've sacrificed your own identity for the sake of keeping her. Another reason women leave the man who loves them the most is that his love often turns into weakness. The more he gives, the more he tolerates, the more he explains, the more she realizes he'll never walk away. And once she knows that, she loses urgency. She stops investing, she stops trying, she stops fearing the loss of the relationship. His devotion becomes her safety net, and safety nets never inspire passion. The man who loves the most often confuses giving with leading. He thinks if he's generous enough, patient enough, understanding enough, she'll reward him with loyalty. But women don't crave endless giving. They crave direction, strength, and stability. They crave a man who can tell them no, who can hold boundaries, who can protect his time and energy. When all you do is give, she doesn't feel safe. She feels like she's with a man who can be controlled. And women don't run toward control, they run away from it. The brutal truth is that women equate love with strength, not sacrifice. They don't respect a man who bends over backwards to please them. They respect a man who stays grounded in his own standards, even when he loves them. The man who loves too much often loses himself. And when a woman sees a man lose himself, her attraction shifts to contempt. She might not even know why she's pulling away. She just knows the fire is gone. Another cold reality: women are drawn to mystery more than they're drawn to devotion. The man who loves her the most is usually the most transparent. He lays his emotions bare, confesses every thought, makes her his therapist, his anchor, his everything. But mystery dies when everything is revealed, and with no mystery, no chase, no uncertainty, attraction suffocates. She leaves not because she hates his love, but because his love smothered the very energy that kept her interested. Women also leave the man who loves them the most because his love often comes with no challenge. He doesn't test her. He doesn't hold her accountable. He forgives too quickly, excuses too easily, accepts too little. And when a woman isn't challenged, she loses respect. Because deep down, every woman wants a man who forces her to rise, not one who accepts her at her lowest, without demanding growth. Love without challenge feels like indulgence, and indulgence always breeds contempt. The man who loves the most usually gives too much attention, and attention, when given freely and endlessly, loses its value. She doesn't have to earn it, she doesn't have to fight for it, she doesn't even have to deserve it. It's just there, like air, and like air, she stops noticing it. But when another man enters the picture and gives her scarce, selective attention, suddenly that attention feels valuable. That contrast makes her realize how little she values the man who handed her his focus without limit. Women leave the man who loves them the most because they associate his love with desperation. He may not intend it, but his constant reassurance, his constant reminders of love, his inability to detach communicates one thing: fear. Fear of losing her, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, and fear is the opposite of attraction. She'll never say it out loud, but fear kills desire faster than cruelty ever could. The man who loves her the most often gives away his power. He lets her set the tone, decide the pace, dictate the terms, and while she may enjoy the control for a while, she can't stay attracted to it, because deep down, women crave polarity, the balance of masculine leadership and feminine surrender. When the roles reverse, attraction dies, and when attraction dies, love doesn't matter, she'll still leave. Here's the coldest part. Women often leave the man who loves them the most because he reveals his love too soon, too fast, too easily. She doesn't have time to earn it, to wonder about it, to work for it. And when love comes without effort, it feels cheap. It feels unearned, and unearned things rarely hold value. She might appreciate it at first, but over time, it begins to feel like a burden, a constant reminder that she's in control of someone else's heart. The man who loves her the most often mistakes comfort for chemistry. He thinks that if he makes her feel safe, she'll stay forever, but safety without desire feels like friendship. Women leave not because they dislike safety, but because they want to feel both safe and excited. The man who only provides comfort and not polarity ends up as a friend, not a lover, and women don't stay with men, they only see as friends. Another reason is that love without boundaries feels like weakness. When she sees you tolerate disrespect, forgive betrayal, or overlook manipulation just because you love her, she doesn't feel flattered, she feels disgusted, because in her mind, if you don't respect yourself, how can she respect you? And once respect is gone, the relationship is on borrowed time. The man who loves her the most often makes her his purpose. He builds his life around her, forgetting that his mission must always come first. Women are drawn to men who are anchored in purpose, not men who are anchored in them. When she realizes she's become your mission, she loses admiration. She might still feel cared for, but she no longer feels desire, because desire comes from looking up to a man, not down on him. Women also leave the man who loves them the most, because his love reveals insecurity. Constant reminders, constant reassurance, constant chasing, all of it reveals doubt. And when doubt shows up, she feels the burden of carrying both her emotions and his. No woman wants to be the emotional backbone for a man. She wants to lean into his strength, not feel like she has to provide it. Another reason is that the man who loves her the most rarely leaves first. He clings, he waits, he hopes, he fights, and in doing so, he gives her the luxury of walking away on her own terms. She gets to leave while still holding the power, while he sits there devastated. That imbalance reinforces the idea that he was never truly the man she wanted, because the man she wants is the one who can walk away with dignity, not the one who waits to be discarded. The man who loves her the most often confuses loyalty with attraction. He believes that because he's been loyal, she owes him love in return, but attraction doesn't work like that. Loyalty matters, but loyalty without mystery, strength, and polarity feels more like obligation than passion, and no woman stays in a relationship fueled only by obligation. Another harsh truth is that women don't equate effort with value. You can give her everything, but if that everything comes from a place of weakness, she won't feel it. You might work harder, sacrifice more, and invest deeper than any other man, but if she doesn't respect you, none of it matters. Effort without respect is invisible. That's why she leaves, even when you loved her more than anyone else. The man who loves her the most often assumes love is enough, but women need polarity, excitement, respect, challenge, and admiration alongside love. Without those, love alone suffocates. She doesn't leave because you didn't care enough. She leaves because your care didn't inspire respect, didn't spark desire, didn't maintain polarity. Love is not the foundation she craves. Strength is. Women also leave because love without distance creates suffocation. When you're always available, always present, always chasing, you eliminate the space she needs to feel her own longing. Desire is born in distance, not in constant presence, and when you remove all distance, you remove all desire. She leaves not because your love was unwanted, but because your love was suffocating. Another reason is that women see unconditional devotion as unreality. When you act like she can do no wrong, she loses faith in you. She knows she's flawed. She knows she tests boundaries, and if you can't see that, if you worship her blindly, she stops trusting your perception. She wants a man who sees her flaws and still leads, not a man who denies reality just to keep her. The man who loves her the most often makes himself replaceable, because there's no scarcity in his energy, no boundaries in his attention, no mystery in his love. He becomes just another man who gave too much. And when she meets someone who gives less but radiates strength, she feels pulled toward him. That pull isn't about love, it's about respect. The coldest reality of all is this: women don't leave the man who loves them the most because they don't like love. They leave because his version of love feels like weakness. They leave because he taught them through his actions that his world revolved around them, And once a woman feels she's the center of your world, she no longer sees you as the center of hers. And here's the lesson you can't ignore. Never think love alone will keep her. Respect, strength, boundaries, and self-control. These are the forces that sustain attraction. Love without them becomes a cage, a burden, a weakness she eventually resents. So stop thinking love is enough. Be the man who loves without losing himself, who gives without begging, who stays strong in silence. Because the man who knows how to love with strength will never be abandoned for weakness.